We all have those moments, don't we? Moments where we wish we could make a profound difference, where we yearn to be a catalyst for good in someone's life, but then a whisper of doubt creeps in. We ask ourselves, does my small action truly matter? Can one person doing one tiny thing really shift the course of another's journey? It's a question that echoes in the quiet corners of our minds, a lingering uncertainty in a world that often demands grand gestures and monumental efforts to be noticed. But what if I told you that the most powerful changes often stem from the most unassuming beginnings? What if a simple, almost imperceptible thread of kindness could, in fact, reweave the entire tapestry of a life? Today, we're going to dive deep into a heartwarming true story that doesn't just theorize about the power of kindness. It illustrates it with breathtaking clarity. It's a narrative that proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that even the most modest, seemingly insignificant act can blossom into a powerful, lasting impact, reverberating far beyond its initial touch point. This isn't a tale of superheroes or grand philanthropists. It's a story of ordinary people, extraordinary circumstances, and the quiet magic of compassion. It's a testament to the profound truth that sometimes all it takes is one small spark to ignite a wildfire of positive change, transforming not just one life, but many. So let's allow ourselves to be inspired, to shed the skepticism, and to truly embrace the boundless power of kindness, discovering the vast, untapped potential for positive transformation that resides within each of us. This is a journey into the heart of humanity, a reminder of what we are truly capable of when we choose to connect, to care, and to offer a piece of ourselves. This channel is a sanctuary for incredible life experiences, heartfelt tales that resonate with the deepest chords of our humanity, inspiring journeys of resilience, and true stories that often defy expectation. Whether it's real-life accounts that transport you or astonishing moments that illuminate the human spirit, Engaging Voices is committed to delivering thought-provoking, truly inspiring and uplifting content that doesn't just entertain, but genuinely resonates with audiences around the globe, prompting reflection and fostering a deeper understanding of the world and us. Our story begins on a Tuesday afternoon, a day like countless others, yet one that would ultimately become a monumental turning point. The air in the city was thick, with a damp chill, a persistent drizzle having fallen from dawn, turning the concrete into a mirror reflecting the gray sky. It was the kind of day that seemed to amplify every small struggle, making minor inconveniences feel like insurmountable obstacles. For Juliet Adebayor, this Tuesday felt like the culmination of weeks, months even, of relentless adversity. Juliet was in her late 20s, but the stress had etched lines of worry around her eyes, making her appear far older. Her usually vibrant spirit had been dulled by a relentless barrage of setbacks. A sudden job loss, mounting medical bills for her ailing mother, and the quiet despair of feeling utterly alone in a city of millions. On this day, her last few dollars were earmarked for the laundromat, a mundane necessity that had taken on the weight of a desperate plea. She carried a bulky bag of clothes, each item a reminder of the life she was rapidly losing control over. Her old, worn sneakers squeaked on the wet pavement, each step feeling heavy, laden with unspoken anxieties. She hadn't eaten much that day, the gnawing hunger in her stomach, a familiar companion. She pushed open the glass door of Spark Clean Laundromat, the warm, humid air inside a stark contrast to the damp chill outside. The cacophony of whirring machines, clanking coins, and the faint scent of detergent usually brought a sense of mundane order, but today it only amplified her sense of disorientation. She found an empty washing machine, its chrome surface dull under the fluorescent lights. Reaching into her small, frayed purse, her fingers fumbled for the familiar weight of quarters. Her heart sank. There were only 4 quarters! Enough for less than half a load. A wave of nausea washed over her. This wasn't just about clean clothes. It was about the crumbling illusion of control, the fragile hope that she could still manage the simple tasks of daily life. The thought of taking her damp, dirty clothes back home, unable to clean them, felt like a final, crushing defeat. It wasn't just the laundry, it was everything. The walls of her precarious existence seemed to be closing in. Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes, blurring the outlines of the machines, turning the bright laundry detergent posters into distorted smears of color. She felt utterly exposed, vulnerable, her silent desperation screaming louder than any washing machine. She looked around, vaguely hoping to see someone she knew, someone who might offer a kind word, or, perhaps, miraculously, a spare handful of coins. But the few other patrons were engrossed in their own tasks, their faces illuminated by the glow of their phones, oblivious to the quiet collapse happening just feet away. She closed her eyes, willing the tears away, trying to swallow the lump forming in her throat. She just needed to breathe, just one more breath. It was in this moment of raw vulnerability, of quiet despair, that the seemingly small act occurred. Juliet felt a gentle tap on her shoulder. She flinched, her eyes snapping open, bracing for an annoyed glance or a dismissive gesture. Instead, she was met by the kind, weathered face of an elderly man. He couldn't have been much taller than her, his silver hair neatly combed, his eyes a warm, sympathetic blue. He wore a simple, well-worn tweed jacket and carried a small, empty laundry basket. He offered a small, comforting smile, a smile that seemed to understand, without needing words, the silent agony she was experiencing. His gaze was steady, compassionate, devoid of pity or judgment. Without saying a single word, he reached into his own pocket. Juliet's breath hitched. She expected him to ask if she was all right, or perhaps to offer a piece of advice she wasn't ready to hear. But he did neither. Instead, with a graceful, almost imperceptible motion, he quietly placed a handful of shiny quarters, far more than she needed for her load, onto the top of the washing machine next to hers. The coins jingled softly, a tiny, almost musical sound against the mechanical hum of the laundromat. He didn't meet her gaze after placing them. His eyes merely drifted down to the coins, then back up to hers for a fleeting second, a subtle acknowledgement. His actions spoke volumes, bypassing the need for any awkward conversation or explanation. Then, just as quietly and unobtrusively as he had appeared, he turned and walked away, heading towards the door, without so much as a backward glance. He didn't wait for a thank you, didn't seek recognition, didn't even pause. He simply moved, a silent angel in a tweed jacket, disappearing into the persistent drizzle outside. Juliet watched him go, stunned into silence. Her mouth was slightly ajar, her mind struggling to process what had just happened. The tears she had been fighting back now flowed freely, but these were different tears. Tears of shock, then immense relief, and finally, a warmth she hadn't felt in what seemed like an eternity. The initial reaction was pure disbelief. Who was he? Why did he do that? She wanted to call out, to thank him, to understand. But he was gone. Then came a wave of overwhelming emotion. It wasn't just the coins, though they were a lifeline. It was the gesture itself, the quiet, unassuming nature of it. He saw her. He understood. And he acted, without fanfare, without expecting anything in return. It wasn't a pity she felt from him, but a deep, resonant empathy. In that moment, surrounded by the mundane hum of machinery, she felt truly seen, truly cared for, by a complete stranger. It was a crack in the wall of her despair, a sliver of light piercing through the heavy clouds that had enveloped her life. She looked down at the pile of glinting quarters, then back at her own empty purse. It felt like a small miracle, a tangible sign that perhaps, just perhaps, She wasn't entirely alone in the world. There was, of course, the initial human tendency towards skepticism. Was it a mistake? Did he drop them accidentally? Was he just being polite? These thoughts flickered through her mind, remnants of the cynical armor she had built to protect herself from further disappointment. It was almost too simple, too pure, to be real. In her mind, help usually came with strings, with expectations, or with a grand narrative. This was just kindness, unadulterated, unconditional. It felt almost alien in its simplicity. But the coins were unmistakably placed, deliberately and with clear intent. The gentle smile and the fleeting, knowing glance confirmed it. This wasn't an accident. This was a gift. A quiet, profound gift. And it resonated with a force that far outweighed the monetary value of the quarters themselves. It wasn't about the money. It was about the humanity. It was about being seen and acknowledged when she felt most invisible. This small, seemingly insignificant act of placing a few coins on a washing machine felt, in that moment, like the entire world had shifted onto its axis. In the immediate aftermath, the overwhelming feeling that washed over Juliet wasn't just relief. It was a profound sense of being seen. After weeks of feeling like an invisible ghost, drifting through her own life, this quiet gesture from a stranger validated her existence, acknowledged her struggle, and whispered a truth she desperately needed to hear: she was not alone. That simple affirmation was enough to prevent a total collapse. The emotional dam, which had been holding back a torrent of despair, held firm, reinforced by an unexpected beam of human connection. Instead of dragging her dirty clothes back to her tiny, cold apartment, defeat etched into every pore, Juliet was able to load her laundry into the machine. As the water filled and the gentle rhythm of the wash cycle began, a fragile but persistent flame of hope flickered within her. It was a microscopic shift, almost imperceptible, but it was there. This wasn't about a grand rescue. It was about restoring a sliver of normalcy, a fragment of dignity, which, in her dire circumstances, was everything. That night, she didn't just have clean clothes. She had a renewed, albeit tiny, sense of agency. She felt a lightness she hadn't experienced in months, a glimmer of the possibility that things might, just might, get better. The first domino fell the very next morning. Fueled by this fragile hope, Juliet found the strength to do something she had put off for days. She dusted off her resume. It had felt like a worthless document, a relic of a past life where she had ambition and purpose. But now, with the memory of the kind stranger's eyes in her mind, a subtle internal shift occurred. If a stranger could offer such unadulterated kindness, perhaps the world wasn't entirely against her. Perhaps there was still a place for her, a chance for a fresh start. She spent hours meticulously refining her resume, her fingers flying across the keyboard with a renewed focus. That afternoon, she applied for a junior marketing position at a small, local tech startup. It wasn't her dream job, but it was a job, and the possibility, however remote, felt like a lifeline. To her astonishment, she received an interview call just 2 days later. Walking into that interview, Juliet carried not only her anxieties, but also a quiet sense of purpose, a newfound resolve born from that laundromat moment. She remembered the stranger's unwavering gaze, his silent encouragement, and it gave her an unexpected boost of confidence. During the interview, she spoke with sincerity and an understated resilience that impressed the hiring manager. She didn't hide her recent struggles, but framed them as a testament to her tenacity. 2 weeks later, she received the offer. It was a modest salary, but it was stable, and more importantly, it was a beginning. The laundromat quarters had not paid for her new job, but the kindness behind them had provided the emotional capital she needed to pursue it. As Juliet settled into her new role, the ripple effect began to expand. With a steady income, she was able to manage her mother's medical expenses more effectively, alleviating a crushing burden. The stress lines on her face began to soften, and a faint blush of her former vibrancy returned. But more significantly, the act of kindness she had received started to manifest in her own behavior. She became more attuned to the struggles of others, more observant of the small gestures that could make a difference. She started holding doors for strangers, offering genuine compliments to colleagues, and taking extra time to listen to friends who were going through tough times. These weren't grand acts of charity. They were quiet, conscious choices to infuse more compassion into her daily interactions, just as Mr. Silas had done for her. One rainy afternoon, several months into her new job, Juliet noticed a young intern, a bright but clearly overwhelmed college student named Alex, struggling with a complex presentation, his face a mask of frustration. She remembered her own feelings of inadequacy and isolation. Instead of offering unsolicited advice, she simply brought him a cup of coffee and sat down beside him, asking if he wanted to talk through his ideas or if he just needed a quiet soundboard. She didn't solve his problem for him, but she offered a space of understanding and support. Alex, relieved, poured out his concerns. Juliet listened, offered a few gentle suggestions, and, most importantly, told him he was capable, that everyone struggled, and that it was okay to ask for help. It was a small act of mentorship, of quiet support. Years passed. Juliet thrived in her career, eventually becoming a marketing director, her past struggles fading into a distant memory, though never forgotten. She channeled her experiences into her work, championing causes that helped struggling individuals and small businesses. She became known not just for her professional acumen, but for her empathetic leadership style, fostering a supportive and collaborative environment for her team. And then, the ripple effect came full circle, in the most unexpected way. Her company was bidding on a major community outreach project, a highly competitive venture aimed at providing digital literacy to underserved neighborhoods. The final presentation was critical. As Juliet prepared, she realized the project needed a specific, innovative tech solution that was beyond her company's current capabilities. Desperate, she reached out to a small, cutting-edge tech firm known for its groundbreaking work in community-focused applications. The firm's CEO was a young, brilliant visionary who had recently made a name for himself. During their initial meeting, the CEO, Alex, listened intently to Juliet's pitch. As he nodded, a flicker of recognition passed across his face, then a slow, warm smile. "Juliet," he began, his voice soft, "you might not remember me, but years ago, when I was an intern at your old company, you brought me a cup of coffee and listened when I was completely overwhelmed by a presentation. You didn't just give me advice, you gave me belief. You made me feel seen." Juliet stared at him, a sudden jolt of memory, a warm rush flooding her. The anxious intern, the rain, the coffee. It was Alex. The small act of kindness she had offered him, born directly from the kindness she had received, shaped his trajectory. He had gone on to found his own successful company, driven by a desire to create technology that fostered connection and support. He remembered her, not for a grand favor, but for a simple moment of human connection. Because of that moment, because of that subtle, genuine act of kindness, Alex immediately agreed to collaborate, forming a powerful partnership that secured the community outreach project. Their combined efforts not only brought vital digital resources to thousands, but also inspired a wave of similar initiatives across the city. The impact was immeasurable, touching countless lives, fostering education, empowerment, and genuine connection within the community. The story culminates a few years after this reunion, when Juliet, now a respected leader in her field, was volunteering at a local food bank. She was handing out warm meals, her heart full, when she saw him. An elderly man, his silver hair thinner now, his tweed jackets a little more threadbare, but his eyes were still that familiar, warm, sympathetic blue. It was Mr. Silas. He was receiving a meal, quiet and unassuming, just as he had been years ago. Her heart pounded. She approached him cautiously, a mix of reverence and gratitude swelling within her. "Excuse me," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "I don't know if you remember me, but a few years ago, at the Spark Clean laundromat, you left some quarters on a machine for me." He looked at her, his eyes crinkling at the corners, a faint smile touching his lips. "Ah, yes," he said softly, a distant memory sparking in his gaze. "A rainy Tuesday, wasn't it? You look like you needed a little sunshine." Juliet's eyes welled up. "You have no idea," she whispered, "how much that meant." "It wasn't just the quarters, Mr. Silas. It was everything. It changed everything for me. It was the spark I needed to believe again, to keep going. Because of you, I got a new job, I reconnected with my purpose, and I even helped someone else who then went on to do incredible things. Your kindness was a ripple that turned into a wave." Mr. Silas listened, his expression serene. He didn't boast, didn't seek credit. He simply nodded, a quiet acknowledgement of the profound impact of his simple act. "We all need a little help sometimes," he said gently, "and we all have the power to give it. You simply passed it on. That's how it works, isn't it?" In that moment, amidst the bustling activity of the food bank, Juliet truly understood the immense, immeasurable power of that one small act of kindness. It wasn't a grand gesture, not a publicized donation, not a heroic rescue. It was a handful of coins, a comforting smile, and the silent acknowledgement of another human being's struggle. And yet, it had been the catalyst for an entire new chapter of her life, inspiring a chain reaction of positive change that had touched countless others, culminating in the very community project she was now supporting. The ripple effect wasn't just a metaphor. It was a living, breathing reality, unfolding before her very eyes. Its genesis traceable back to a single, unassuming act of compassion. This story, the true narrative of Juliet Adebayor and the quiet kindness of Mr. Silas, compels us to pause and reflect on the broader implications of our actions. It's a powerful testament to the intricate, often invisible web that connects us all. Every single interaction, every word spoken, every gesture made, no matter how fleeting or seemingly insignificant, sends out ripples into the vast ocean of human experience. We are not isolated islands. We are interconnected currents, each capable of influencing the flow of the other. The notion that one small act can trigger such a monumental shift isn't just heartwarming. It's a profound truth, demonstrating that our lives are not just a series of independent events, but a continuous, dynamic tapestry woven with countless threads of connection. In our increasingly complex and often fragmented world, this message holds an even deeper resonance. We live in an era characterized by rapid change, heightened anxieties, and, at times, a distressing surge in polarization. The constant barrage of information, often skewed towards conflict and despair, can leave us feeling overwhelmed, disconnected, and cynical. It's easy to retreat, to build walls, to view others with suspicion or indifference. The fast pace of modern life, the digital barriers that often replace genuine human interaction, and the emphasis on individual achievement can inadvertently erode our collective sense of empathy. We hear news of global crises, societal divides, and personal struggles on a scale that can feel paralyzed. In such a climate, the simple, undeniable need for kindness and empathy becomes not just a moral ideal, but a vital antidote, a necessary balm for the soul of humanity. The story of Juliet and Mr. Silas reminds us that kindness is not merely an act. It is a philosophy, a choice, a way of being that actively counters the forces of division and despair. It's a deliberate decision to see beyond the surface, to recognize humanity shared in everyone, and to respond to vulnerability with compassion. It underscores that we don't need grand platforms or immense resources to make a difference. The true power lies in the small, consistent choices we make every single day. It's in the quiet acknowledgement of another's struggle, the gentle offer of support, the simple act of presence. These are the bricks and mortars of a more compassionate society, laid one interaction at a time. It's an invitation, then, to consider the impact of your own choices and actions. Every morning, as you step out into the world, you carry with you an invisible, yet immensely potent power. The power to influence, to uplift, to connect. Will you choose to use it? Will you pause to notice the person struggling quietly beside you? Will you offer a moment of your time, a kind word, a genuine smile? What if the casual compliment you give blossoms into a renewed sense of self-worth for someone who desperately needed it? What if the patience you show in a frustrating situation prevents a chain reaction of anger? What if the small favor you do for a colleague alleviates a burden they were silently carrying? This story challenges us to move beyond the superficial, to look past the immediate gratification, and to embrace the profound, unseen ripple effects of our actions. It's a call to understand that every interaction is an opportunity, every moment a potential turning point. By consciously choosing kindness, we not only alleviate the burdens of others, but also enrich our own lives, fostering a sense of purpose and connection that is deeply fulfilling. The beauty of kindness lies in its inherent reciprocity. When you give it, you often find that it returns to you, sometimes in the most unexpected and heartwarming ways, completing a beautiful, virtuous circle of compassion. In wrapping up Juliet's truly remarkable journey, the core message echoes with undeniable clarity. Kindness is not a weakness, nor is it a negligible force. It is, in fact, an extraordinary superpower, accessible to every single one of us, regardless of our station, our wealth, or our perceived influence. Its power lies not in its grandeur, but in its boundless capacity for exponential growth. A single seed of compassion, sown quietly and without expectation, can sprout into a resilient sapling of hope, which then matures into a vast, sheltering forest of positive change, providing sustenance and refuge for countless souls. This is the profound truth that Juliet's story illuminates so vividly, a truth that transcends cultures, defies cynicism, and speaks to the deepest, most inherent goodness within the human spirit. It teaches us that we do not need to solve all the world's problems, nor do we need to embark on monumental philanthropic endeavors to make a difference. The real magic happens in the minutiae, in the everyday choices, in the willingness to extend a hand, a smile, or a moment of genuine presence to another human being. Imagine a world where every individual understood this inherent power and consciously chose to wield it. The cumulative effect would be nothing short of revolutionary, creating a collective shift towards greater empathy, understanding, and interconnectedness. If this story of unexpected impact and profound human connection touched your heart, if it resonated with that quiet yearning inside you to make a difference, then please do us a huge favor. Hit that like button right now. Your likes help us reach more people with these vital messages. And if you're passionate about hearing more captivating narratives, incredible life experiences, heartfelt tales, and inspiring journeys, then subscribe to Engaging Voices. Join our community as we continue to unearth and share some of the best and most instructive true stories. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss another empowering and uplifting story from our channel. Thank you for being a part of the Engaging Voices community, and remember, your kindness truly has the power to change everything.